Hi, I'm Stephanie Burt. Just like some who've come before me, I eat, I travel, I write, and I talk. Boy, do I talk. But I also listen too. And these are some of the stories I hear and experience around the Southern table. They are rooted in personal and cultural history, resonance with seasonality and the living environment, and a passion for high-level craft that in its pursuit offers the possibility of sustenance from one hand to another. Let's dig in. When it comes to diets in the United States, it's all about cutting things out. Get rid of the unhealthy and keep the healthy. There are 3 general problems with this. First, what if you don't know how to prepare the healthy in a way that will keep you eating it? Secondly, the nutrients of a fruit or vegetable degrade with age and storage, so not all are created equal. And finally, what if you don't have regular access to nutrient-dense food? This is more than dieting, Olivia Myers says. It's a lifestyle change, and for many, it's a daunting task. That's where she, a registered dietitian, and GroceryRx, an arm of Lowcountry Street Grocery in Charleston, South Carolina, come in.
Lowcountry Street Grocery is what I call like the mothership business. So it is a local food marketplace and food pharmacy at its core. And so underneath Lowcountry Street Grocery, there's 3 arms. The first is our mobile market, our mobile farmers market. So it's a sliding scale market on an old Ford bus that's been retrofitted, going to different areas around Charleston and selling the produce and products that we aggregate and have brought in. The second part of the business is community-supported grocery, and that really is local food home delivery. So think CSA, but aggregating from multiple farmers and producers and delivering it to people's homes on a weekly basis. The third part of the business is what I call my baby, and it is GroceryRx. GroceryRx is our food as medicine platform is the easiest way of saying it. So working with clinical partners to get referrals for people that are experiencing diet-related illness and food insecurity, nutrition insecurity, and delivering both nutrition education and healthy food to them throughout the program.
60% of Americans have one chronic disease, and 40% have 2 or more. Chronic diseases account for a majority of the leading causes of death in the U.S., many of which are diet-related. And get this, 90% of U.S. healthcare costs goes toward treating chronic disease. GroceryRx flips that idea of inevitability on its head by the simple premise of prescribing people healthy food and the personalized education of how to incorporate it into their lives.
My love for food started in restaurants and cooking, and I have worked, in all types of kitchens, almost longer than I've been working as a dietitian. So I really only went the nutrition route because it was the closest degree related to food that wasn't culinary school. And so forever, I knew that my nutrition work that I wanted to do would be more food focused, which is really funny to say as a dietitian, because that literally, that's what you think it is. Whereas a lot of work as a dietitian ends up being more clinical and doing more prescriptive feeding of formulas, right? And that's valuable, but it's the polar opposite of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do prescriptive feeding with food, right? And so I think one of my core experiences that brought this to me before even coming to Charleston is when I was living and working in rural Alaska and working with the native populations out there, going to villages. The direct impact of westernization, Western diets was so apparent. And in these places, they relied on subsistence living for forever, right? And they still did. But that the tradition and the culture is not being passed down as much to younger generations, and seeing the health impacts of that. And so really through that work, it became very apparent to me, obviously, but just how important that generational aspect of food is. And so when I moved to Charleston, I guess when I first started working with Lindsay, I was just like volunteering, honestly, because I was really into it, And it happened pretty organically. Now, food as medicine programs or produce prescription programs are pretty common around the country and are definitely gaining in popularity, which I'm really glad about. In a large part, that was because of the 2018 Farm Bill, like acknowledging them and acknowledging funding needs for produce prescription programs. But we actually started before that. So in 2017, before there was really like a template for this or other people were doing it, I think I was at a doctor's appointment with Lindsay and telling them about what we did about the mobile farmers market and all of that. And they were like, oh, we would love for that to come here. I was like, what if we gave people vouchers, like get food to go shopping on that, and I can do some sort of nutrition thing. And they were like, yeah, cool. And so we worked with the dietitian and a PharmD and a PA there to really kind of start to develop the first iteration of GroceryRx. And I really wanted to do that when I was working at hospitals and doing outpatient counseling with individuals. It became really frustrating, really like, what am I doing here? Because I would counsel people on, this is how we want to change your diet. We want to incorporate more of like these fresh foods in your diet and all this. And then them just kind of looking back at me with a blank stare, knowing, and I knew and they knew, it was almost unspoken, that affording that food or having access to that food was probably out of reach for them. And so I was just felt silly, to be honest.
There's a lot of judgment there.
Yeah.
Somebody says, why don't you know how to just cook a potato or whatever? I remember a girlfriend from high school once or college once, she had a guy over to make dinner and she was like, the potatoes were horrible. And she was like, they tasted like dirt and everything was brown. And I was like, did you scrub them?
Did you just give
And
them a
she
little
said,
wash?
no.
Yeah.
She didn't give them a wash. She put them right in. And I was like, whoa, because I grew up in a household that was just, you cooked. I mean, like you were just part of the economy of the house.
Yeah.
Like you washed dishes and you helped clean. It wasn't separated from the family, if that makes sense. And so she had grown up in a different environment. Now we get this moment like, if you don't know how to cook or you can't eat fresh fruit and vegetables, then you kind of deserve to be ill.
Yeah. Or you maybe feel a little silly, like someone can make you feel kind of like, why don't you know that, I mean, maybe a little shaming on not washing a potato, but it's
GroceryRx is close to 8 years in operation, so Olivia and the team are not just experimenting, they're documenting and tracking results for patients who are involved, noting not just improved health markers, but better whole quality of life.
Part of what with GroceryRx, I didn't want it to be clinical. I don't want it to be cold and sterile and white and disposable. Like those are all things that, like, when I go into, say, like the dermatologist office, whatever, that's like what I think of, like there's paper that's being thrown out, everything's being trashed. It's like a lot of staff maybe void of whatever personality. I didn't want that. I wanted it to be serious, like seriously change health. And so bringing those two things together is unique, and it's a little hard. Some core things, principles of GroceryRx, which I realize a lot of these words are kind of played out, but genuinely is to establish community in taking care of yourself and enjoyment in taking care of yourself and empowering, making people feel like they do have control over their health and where their life is going, and if you can do that with food, hopefully it starts to encourage that feeling in other parts of your life. If you can do it with food and your own health. Again, we are clinical in the sense I want to see their blood sugar pre and post. We get everyone's hemoglobin A1C to test their blood sugar before starting classes and afterwards. I want to see like their anthropometric measurement changes, weight, waist circumference, those kind of like composition, body composition metrics. And which I know I'm not putting a huge emphasis on that, but it is part of the picture. And it's part of what people, to make people feel good in their own bodies. And so we are looking at that for sure. And it's very important. That honestly, when you talk about money and funding these programs, that's where that comes from, right? But the flip side is building relationships with people. And we've had some folks that have been with us for probably like four years now, and we know them intimately, and I talk to them regularly. One woman still sends me like pictures of her lunch, every day via email, and
I love that. I send people pictures of my lunch.
Yeah, and it's just the most amazing thing. I mean, this woman has every card stacked against her, and she has been diagnosed with a pretty severe some mental health issues. She lives alone. She lives in government subsidized housing. She doesn't have a job. She's living off of disability and benefits, but she has made drastic changes. She's off of her blood pressure medication. She's off of her blood sugar medication. Her cholesterol has come down to normal, and she's lost about like 120 pounds over the last 3 years. She's been with us. She's stuck with us and has communicated, and that's really, it's so humbling, like it's wonderful.
That's really great. But if any of you have ever been on a diet, and that's got to be close to 98% of you, then the devil is in the details. What makes GroceryRx stick for its patients? Can you talk about the buy-in that the patients have? Because I think that's an important thing that you're hinting at here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to, I guess, fluff our feathers, we have always had really good retention. And I say that's where the like non-sterile part comes in, because a lot of nutrition programs, I mean, it just doesn't sound exciting when you say that, it's like, eh.
I mean, I'm a food writer. I eat healthy now, but I wasn't always healthy either. I've learned to cook more because of Lowcountry Street Grocery and community supported grocery. I will talk more about that. But I'm not training for a triathlon. I'm living my life here.
That's right.
It seems sad.
It's sad.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. And I think like as dietitians, everyone just associates us with being like just taking things away. Like, you can't eat this, you can't have this, you can't have this. And it's just such a sad way of living, especially coming again from someone who like food is all that I have ever done, and I mean that definitely like drove the vibe of classes, or drives the vibe of classes. And I think that is apparent to people who attend them. So in general, if we have 30 people enroll for a class, we'll have 27 of them like finish 12 weeks, and then some. I think it's really because making it accessible to people, as accessible as possible. We're working our like the average age of people in our class is probably around 65. And so doing virtual classes or getting people there, whatever, technologically, we're working with people through stuff. We're keeping up with them. We do a weekly walking club. So we partner with a church in North Charleston, and I'll just get together once a week and walk together. And everyone that comes to Walking Club gets a voucher to go shopping on the bus. And so it's always kind of just tying that like exercise and food and talking to people and building relationships and all of that. And I think it is all of those things that keep people coming back, in addition to just like really starting, like, who's on your team, who's your staff, who, like, I am hell bent on respect and putting that out there in the world for everyone that you talk to, and so, like, just making sure that that's how we're addressing people and how everyone in class addresses each other. And it's just really built on that mutual respect. And I think that that's critically important for having people want to be there.
This is getting bigger and you have more doctors involved and more outlets and more classes. What is kind of your next step? What is making you hungry?
Honestly, it's to be able to replicate this in some sort of way to reach more people. Right now, it is, it's that fine balance between anything. Growing a business, GroceryRx isn't a business, but it's a program within a business, and you're always balancing quality over quantity. We have to like turn people, not individuals referred to us, but this, a lot of people are requesting more, and can we do that here, and can we do that here, and can you come to Columbia, can you come, and so I want to be able to say yes one day without overextending ourselves, but also maintaining that quality of relationship and programming. So that's what we're looking at. I mean, so GroceryRx is funded by many different avenues. Unfortunately, even with kind of the changes in funding on a national level this year, it hasn't affected us really, because of the way that we've built the business and the program. So it's maintaining that. I'm always striving for like full financial sustainability internally, but we do still have a couple of grants from private funders that are really helpful for us to be able to reach more people. Last year was our first year being able to bill insurance companies for GroceryRx, which has been huge. And technically, just a little foray into that, we can't bill for food. We only can bill for nutrition education, and that nutrition education has to come from a dietitian. And so there are still pretty strict limitations, and often reimbursement is pretty poor for dietitians. But that is one funding stream that was really important to me to secure. So we can accept all public health insurance and most private insurances. And so if someone comes to us and they don't have insurance, that's okay. They still can come in the program. We don't pass those cost on to anyone. GroceryRx is completely free to the participants, but it is another funding stream that helps us be able to continue long term.
I love it. What is one aspect of this job? And I think I know this answer because you're obsessed with food, but I'm going to let you have an opportunity to calibrate it. What is one aspect of this job that really meshes like a puzzle piece with an aspect of your natural personality?
Food would be the obvious answer, but I'm actually going to say one of the struggles whenever you start something and start something kind of like that's just like a little sliver of your heart, is how to pass that on to other people to continue that in your stead. And I know
Right.
what I'm talking about.
Slice up my heart as sashimi all the time.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
everyone's like, cool, I'm full right now.
Yeah, no. Good. I'm stuffed actually. Um,
Yeah.
and I say that because I think that part of why, like, GroceryRx is an extension of how I feel about people and how you treat people and how, my beliefs in this world. And so being able to like replicate that is really interesting. You got to find the people that can very much identify with that. But the part of myself that meshes and makes it possible is just, I think I have a pretty good ability to find commonality in almost everyone that I come across. And it's really important to me. And so I think that it's made it, definitely been a big part of GroceryRx being successful.
Yes. What's One thing, quick fire, keeping you up at night.
Oh, one thing. It could be a number of things. So, of course, GroceryRx is definitely like my thing, but obviously I'm married to the owner of the business and therefore do a lot of other stuff within the business. And the one thing that always keeps me up at night is just making I think the people that work with us and making sure that they're okay. I'm always thinking about like, what are they thinking? Are they okay? What's going to happen with them? Because really, ultimately, if you don't have that, then what do you have? And we have big aspirations to grow. And so making sure that everyone's taken care of in that growth, I think.
Now, this is the final question that I ask of every Southern Fork guest. And I am so honored to have had Lindsay on previously a few years ago. I think it was 2018. I went back and looked at that. Those that are listening, I'm going to link that episode in the show notes so you can even get more context. But this is my magic picnic basket question. This is a derivative of the death row meal. I don't believe in the death penalty, so I don't want to ask about a last meal. I want to ask about what are some foods, dishes, things that bring you life. And so I have a magic picnic basket to make this come to life. I can time travel. I can go back and conscript anybody to make one more bite of something. I can source a little bit, but I'm going to get most of my veggies from community supported grocery, just heads up. So you have that information already at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I can cook a little bit. You've had my pound cake,
Mm-hmm.
but I hopefully am trying to expand the repertoire this year, which I would happily do for you. So I know it changes. I know it shifts. What are some things I can put in that basket for you today?
Are these like nostalgia based or just favorite? I guess probably not.
Just favorites, nostalgia mix. I mean, I've had people do all varieties of charcuterie. I had somebody the other day do cauliflower and hummus and all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I've had other people go way back and say, like, I had this lemon dish and on the coast of France when I was 24 and a student, and I've never forgotten it. So it can be a mix of all that.
Okay, so meals or ingredients, right? Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
what can you put in there? What can I bring you? Just a few things. Let's
Um,
start with the beverage. What kind of beverages do you like? That'll give you time to kind
my
of
favorite
fudge around.
beverages, green tea, which is what I'm drinking right now. I love. Right now, really into a dry martini is my alcoholic drink of choice.
The next one I want to have with you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm really on a kick with that right now. And um yeah, I would say those probably are my favorite. I love like a little the fruity Pellegrinos, like my Nana used to always make on Sunday mornings we would after church have sit at her big table and she would have a Belgian waffle maker on her table and she would make the batter like 2 days in advance. Didn't know at that point. I don't think it was sourdough, but I think it like was at that point, you know what I mean? Like it had sat there long enough. And she would make waffles and pass them around the table. And she did like a chip beef gravy. So they were like savory waffles with like lots of white onion in it. So
Yes.
that's something I haven't eaten in a long while. And I love tiramisu would be on that list of things that I love. For some reason, it's just coming to mind pork chops. When I was little, that was like my birthday dinner wish every year was a pork chop. And that still kind of holds true to this day. Particularly, there's one at Ito's Squid in Richmond, Virginia, that is delicious.
That's a good basket.
No fruits or
Awesome.
vegetables in there, not a single one of them.
I love this
Not
from a
a
dietitian.
single one, I know.
You're like, I need some white gravy and a martini. The perfect thing for you.
And then a little
Thank
more
you so
cream
much
on the
for
back end with tiramisu. Yeah. Just
with the tiramisu. That's right.
I know. Definitely winter
I love it.
like winter food talking right now.
And that's the show for today. This podcast is produced in-house by the Southern Fork, and the theme music is the song Memphis Bound from Songs for Rosetta by Jimbo Mathis and his Knockdown Society, released in 1997 and including violin on this track from Andrew Bird. Mathis, who generously allowed me to use this music here, has been my lifetime musical Pied Piper, and Bird, one of my creative catalysts, so I'm grateful to share their sound with you through this show. If you like what you've heard today, please send it to somebody you'd like to sit across the table from, and please support all the creators featured here. Until next time.